All right, man, peace. So Bleacher Report compiled a very interesting list of who they view to be the most overhyped NBA players. So ESPN created a segment concentrating on the top 5 most overhyped NBA players. And I think that this is a very pertinent list because there are certain names that I see that, to be quite frank with you, I'm hearing a little bit too much about in the offseason. And the number one name that I'm hearing a little bit too much about and who I feel is starting to get overhyped is Mr. Jason Tatum. I do believe that he has a very high ceiling, but they're talking about him like he's Dominique Wilkins or someone of that caliber, like they're expecting him to average 30 a game. And I think that he's starting to believe a little bit of the hype. And he has to be very careful because I heard him have an interview where he started to talk about what Brad Stevens' job is and what his job is. And it's like, dude, you're not even the best player on your own team. Kyrie Irving is the best player on your team. You're 20 years old. You took a great step in the playoffs last year. You averaged 18 a game in the playoffs. It's not like you averaged 28 a game. Pump your brakes. So anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
We are a little over a month until players can report for the NBA season. That's crazy. And there has been a lot of hype for some of the league's biggest.
I don't see how DeMarcus Cousins could be overhyped when he's had about 5 straight years of 25 and 12. If anything, he's underhyped right now because he's coming off of an Achilles. I do believe that he's going to have a great impact for that team because even without him, they'd be considered the prohibitive favorite to repeat as world champions. But when you added DeMarcus Cousins, they're not expecting him to average 25 and 12. They're going to expect him to play a very potent 15 minutes for them and to add a low post threat that they've never had from the big man position. Now, was Kawhi Leonard overhyped? No, I don't believe so, because he's been one of the great two-way players in the NBA for the past 5 years or so. So we'll see what happens with him. It's going to be very interesting to see how good he is this up-and-coming season.
Stars. So Bleacher Report compiled a list of the most overhyped players entering
it's an idiotic
season.
list.
I'm here for all of it, Max, including Jason Tatum, DeMarcus Cousins, and Kawhi Leonard. Mr. Kellerman, I'd like to start with you. Who's the most overhyped player in the NBA? Oh, okay,
First, I gotta say something. Kawhi Leonard and Jason Tatum on that level. Boogie Cousins, when he's healthy, is a great offensive player. I get it. Jason Tatum, if anything, is underhyped.
I disagree, sir. I've been hearing way too much about him in this offseason. And that's why I stated it would not surprise me if there are some issues with the chemistry on that Boston Celtics team. Because many world championship basketball teams, I remember Kenny Smith is very fond of stating that after they won the world championship in 1994, guys came back the next season all feeling like they were superstars. I remember Charles Barkley saying, just going to the finals in 93, the next year the team came back and everybody had endorsement deals and they owned restaurants and guys came into the locker room wearing shades that were not wearing shades the previous year. I could see some of that with the Boston Celtics. That's why I state that before this up-and-coming regular season in training camp, Kyrie Irving is going to have to establish the hierarchy very, very early. He's going to have to let Tatum and Terry Rozier know, I'm the captain here, right? I'm the captain of this ship. So don't even think about trying to compete with me for this starting spot. Don't even try to think about competing with me as the alpha male on this squad. He's going to have to do that because I could see Jason Tatum's head just getting a little bit bigger. I saw he was out working with Kobe Bryant. Now, am I saying that Kobe's going to put things into his head that may sow dissension in the locker room between him and Kyrie? No, I don't. Because Kyrie Irving is so close with Kobe, it would not surprise me if Kyrie Irving helped in establishing the bond or the link-up between Jason Tatum and Kobe Bryant.
If anything is underhyped, that is so stupid, I cannot believe
Absolutely.
it. Kawhi Leonard? Kawhi Leonard, when healthy, I'm here to tell you, we debate this, you say it's KD. I say other than LeBron, he's the best player in the league when healthy.
KD.
No, I can't go that far. Kawhi Leonard has shown himself to be a great two-way player. I think that he'd be the best second banana in the NBA on a championship team. I don't see him being able to lead a team to the championship. I don't think that he has the personality. So I can't put him above KD. Now, people will say, well, KD has never really led a team to a championship. You're correct. But I think that KD has more experience leading his team deep into the playoffs than a Kawhi Leonard does. People forget KD basically put his team on his back in the 2012 playoffs all the way to the finals. And through Game 2 of the NBA Finals was outplaying LeBron James until LeBron got that gift call or that gift no call against KD in Game 2 when the OKC Thunder were already up 1-0.
KD. I say Kawhi. If anything, Kawhi is also underhyped. Let me say this. It'd be easy for me to go at Carmelo Anthony, Stephen A., because now all of a sudden, people like you are saying, well, yeah, Carmelo's a little over the hill or the game has changed and he's not a great player anymore. But when did that moment happen?
Very easy. I know when that moment happened. That moment happened when the New York Knicks flamed out against the Indiana Pacers in the 2013 playoffs, when, in my view, they were the better team. If I remember correctly, they had home court in that second round series. If I remember correctly. If I'm wrong about that, one of you brothers can correct me on that. But either way, the Knicks should have won that series had Carmelo Anthony been the player that everyone was making him out to be, which he never was in the first place. But after they lost that series, he and that team were never the same. And that's when the transition started to happen from Carmelo Anthony being considered one of the best players in the league to his precipitous dive down the hierarchy of the NBA. Because that team was never the same after that series in 2013, and he was never the same.
Because it seemed to me there were several years where you and I were screaming at each other, and you were telling me Carmelo's a superstar, and I was like, not by the results. You know, he can compile those numbers, but not by the results. But I'm gonna aim at bigger fish here, Stephen A.
Carmelo Anthony was never a superstar in the NBA, ever. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. He just wasn't. At best, he was a star, borderline superstar, but just a star. You can't tell me that you're a superstar and you only get to the conference final round one time in 15 years. I'm sorry, I just can't buy that. There have been some superstars in the NBA over the last 15 years. Carmelo Anthony is not one of them. LeBron James was a superstar. Dirk Nowitzki was a superstar. Kevin Garnett was a superstar. Kevin Durant is a superstar. Steph Curry is a superstar. Those are superstars. Dwayne Wade is a superstar. You're guaranteed a long playoff run with those players as the captains of your ship. James Harden is a superstar over Carmelo Anthony.
One of my favorite players. A guy who we all think has ice water in his veins and is going to be super clutch, crunch time killer. But got shut down by Drew Holiday in the playoffs. Shut down. And that's Damian Lillard. I, at one point, thought Damian Lillard, other than Anthony Davis, there was a time about 3 or 4 years ago I thought if I had to start a franchise, I'm starting it with that guy.
Well, that means that 3 or 4 years ago you were a complete idiot. Because there's never been a time in Dame Lillard's career where he'd be the guy that you start your franchise with. And every once in a while I get one of these cats that wants to argue with me about Dame Lillard versus Steph Curry. Oh, Dame could do all the things that Steph can do, and Steph has the right system, and if you put Dame in that system, he could do what Steph does. No. Dame is a great, great player for what he does and for what he can do. And if you squint your eyes very tight, you can convince yourself that Dame Lillard is on the level of a Steph Curry or Kyrie Irving, but he's not. When you watch Dame play, he just has too many of those 6 for 23 games. And I'm not going to use the New Orleans Pelicans series against him because they had a great defensive game plan on him because they knew how rudimentary the Portland Trail Blazers offensive scheme was. It basically was just give the ball to Dame or CJ and let them play one-on-one. And you're not going to beat teams in the playoffs that way. You're just not. At least not elite teams. And the New Orleans Pelicans showed that they had elite-level talent on their roster above Portland. When you're bringing a Rajon Rondo, a Drew Holiday, and of course, an Anthony Davis to the floor against just Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum, you're going to beat them, especially if you're able to outcoach them. And I have to give old trout-mouth Alvin Gentry credit. He certainly outcoached the coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. So I'm not going to use that as a strike against Dame. I just don't think that he's a transcendent player. I would put him in the top 15 players in the NBA. Definitely top 20. But is he top 10? No. I can't put him that high.
I think very highly of Damian Lillard. He's not a top 5 player, maybe not a top 10 player right now.
Well, he's certainly not a top 5 player. And anybody who ever thought he was just does not know the game of basketball. Once again, when you compare Dame Lillard to Steph Curry, that's like comparing Clyde Drexler to Michael Jordan. And I'm not calling Steph Curry Michael Jordan by any means. But the difference between Steph Curry and Dame Lillard is like the difference between Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler. That's truly what it is. Clyde Drexler was a great, all-time great shooting guard, Hall of Famer, world champion, and was the difference maker on that Houston Rockets franchise when they won the chip in '95, but he was not Michael Jordan. Steph Curry scores the easiest 27, 28 points of just about any player that I've ever seen other than Jordan. He makes it look so easy. You look at his shooting percentages, you know that Curry is going to shoot anywhere from 48 to 50% during the regular season, and that's very hard. He makes it look so easy, and he was doing it before Durant got there. Dame Lillard, for the most part, is a 42, 43% shooter. That tells me that he's a volume shooter. That's why I say when you squint your eyes, you can convince yourself that Dame is as good as Kyrie Irving or Steph Curry or even Chris Paul, but he's not.
And much as I said about Odell Beckham Jr., I thought he's the best wideout in the game, better catch passes in the playoffs. He didn't. I held it against him. That's my guy, New York Giants football player.
Well, Odell is probably the most exciting wide receiver in the NFL, but he's not as good as Antonio Brown.
Damian Lillard, part of what we're hyping up about him is he's got something about him that tells us under pressure, that's the guy you want with the ball in his hands. Well, he had pressure. He had the ball in his hands. Drew Holiday shut him down. I'm going with Lillard.
Well, first of all,
Let me say this very quickly. I'm on record as stating that I believe that the Portland Trail Blazers actually need to take the ball out of Dame Lillard's hands more. I said that before the playoffs last season. They let Dame take too many shots. If we were to use the great Isaiah Thomas as a baseline, back in the mid-'80s, Isaiah Thomas was averaging 23 points, 13 assists a game, back in 84, 85, 86. But when his points came down to about 18 and his assists came down to about 8, that's when they started winning championships. Dame is averaging about 27 a game. He's shooting about 44, 43% from the field. They need to move the ball more. And I think that that would make him a more potent player. Because once again, New Orleans knew who they were going to run the offense through. When I say they, I mean the Portland Trail Blazers. Their offensive scheme was so straightforward. There's no special effects to what they do. And in the playoffs, you have to have some wrinkles to your game. It's almost like a great prize fighter. A Floyd Mayweather, he has to show different things against a Miguel Cotto than what he shows against an average fighter.
Drew Holiday then completely shut him down. Then he had help. He just double and triple team half the damn time. Let's be
Absolutely. And that's because New Orleans knew that they were going to run their offense strictly through Dame.
Let's be clear, because nobody else other than C.J. McCollum showed up for Portland. So I definitely think you're wrong about
Hard to show up when they won't get the basketball.
that. I know this much, even though you can say you can name 10 players in the NBA that are better than Damian Lillard. There's no shame when there's 450 plus players in the league. You got 30 teams, each needs to have a franchise player. This brother averaged 25 a game. You put the ball in this brother's hands at crunch time, he usually delivers. I gotta give Damian Lillard mad love. I disagree with you there. I would say this.
I disagree with him too. I don't think that Damian Lillard is overhyped. I just think that he's overmatched.
As it pertains to this list, it's an absolute joke that Jason Tatum is ever
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. The Lakers should have grabbed him. Jason Tatum is going to be a star.
They're going to build the offense around Jason Tatum.
The offense around him.
I think that you guys are losing track of what the term overhype means. Overhype doesn't mean that you can't play. Overhype means that there's more talk around you than what you deserve at that moment in your career. Once again, they're talking about Jason Tatum like he's Tracy McGrady back in 2001 or something like that. And he just has not done enough to earn all these accolades. I truly believe that they're trying to pump up some type of issues within the Celtics locker room, but we're going to find out.
Kawhi Leonard, we all know how legit he is when healthy. I'm only bringing up this name because he's on the list. Josh Jackson. Now, I don't remember when he was rated.
I don't remember when he was hyped.
I don't remember when he was hyped. But he is the 4th overall pick, all right? This kid's got good size on him. He's 21 years of age. He shoots 41% from the field. I watched him a little bit in the summer league. Got to work on his jump shot. Just got to work on his jump shot. When you consider DeAndre Ayton is there, along with Booker, if Josh Jackson can give you anything, Phoenix is on the upswing. That's one.
Doesn't that surprise you that it's him and not like Lonzo?
I don't understand that. Number 2.
Because Lonzo Ball had a far greater rookie season than Josh Jackson. And for all intents and purposes, people are no longer hyping up Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball pretty much has free reign this season to just be a good player. There are no longer any expectations that he's going to destroy the NBA like there were before his rookie season. Josh Jackson is overrated because he's been very poor for a player who was drafted in the top 5. Lonzo Ball did not have a poor season. He had poor moments during the season, but he showed moments here and there of greatness, potential greatness. There was never a point last season where Josh Jackson showed anybody that he could potentially become a great player. So hopefully he's grown in the offseason with his overall skill set.
Zach LaVine, I like him, but he's been injury prone. And the Chicago Bulls just matched an offer for about $78 million for him. So you're going to see him on that list simply because of the dollars that he's getting paid. People are not realizing they hear $78 million. They say, wow, they don't realize that's actually not that much in today's NBA economy.
I agree, but they need to hold on to Zach LaVine because he's a name. People know him from the dunk contest, and they're hoping that he can become something more than just a cheap 20-point-per-game guy. Because there are different types of 20-point-per-game guys. There are guys who average 20 points per game and they actually impact their team. And then there are guys who average 20 points per game on teams that win 28 games, 30 games a season. Like when I was a kid, there was a player in the league who did that by the name of Reggie Theus. Reggie Theus will give you the cheapest 22, 23 points a game you've ever seen. And every team that he was on was complete garbage.
You understand? God bless. It's actually not that much. And so when you look at it from that perspective, I got to sit up there and say, hey, I don't blame those two for being on the list. Those are not the names that you would think of, but because they're on the list, I'm going to say those two guys got to show me.
When you talk about hype, though, I want to go back to Lillard for a second. I'm not saying he's not a great player. He's a terrific player.
Yes.
And you could do a lot worse than Damian Lillard.
Yes.
But I can name a whole bunch of point guards right now.
A bunch?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Quickly.
Go ahead.
Steph Curry.
Okay.
James Harden.
Okay.
CP3.
Well, let's go.
Russell Westbrook.
I don't count James Harden as a point guard, dude. So you have to take him out. He's just a combo guard that handles the ball a lot. But you can't include James Harden in the list of NBA point guards better than Dame Lillard. You just can't do that. It's not fair.
Russell Westbrook.
Don't do that to James
Kyrie Irving.
Don't do James
I just
Harden.
named 5 guys.
I say don't do James Harden because he's really a 2 where he can play the
But he's the primary ball handler.
No, I'm just saying, well, CP3 is there, whatever he wants to go off the ball, but when he wants the ball, he's the point guard. Come on now, you know James Harden.
I totally will not give you that point. James Harden handles the ball more than Chris Paul.
When we're talking about point guards and you're talking about a floor general, nobody's thinking about James Harden is all I'm saying. I'm not saying it.
Thank you, sir. Really, Max Kellerman is just trying to make a point that doesn't exist.
I'm not saying he doesn't do it.
D'Antoni won 60-plus games with him as the point guard.
You got D'Antoni.
Yeah, but you know what? Let Max Kellerman continue because he claimed that he can name a bunch of guys. So far, he's named 4 legit names.
You shoot within 7 seconds for Christ. He ain't really running.
I hate to break it to you. Harden went from mostly a shooting guard to mostly a point guard. I'm counting him.
Really?
Yes.
So in other words, your definition of a point guard is a guy that's bouncing the ball standing and making a shot for himself.
Who would you rather have, Ben Simmons or Damian Lillard? Who would you rather have?
You know what?
That's an interesting point. I would probably take Ben Simmons right now over Dame Lillard.
You know what? Let me answer that question. What do I need?
You want to win games.
What do I need?
You want to win games.
Excuse me.
You're starting a team.
Excuse me. Well, I'm going to go with Ben Simmons because he's 6'11".
You're right.
That's the point.
Well, that counts, brother. That's
what
all
I'm saying.
counts.
But Ben Simmons can't shoot yet.
By the way,
He can't shoot yet.
That's true, but Dame Lillard does not play good defense. He doesn't rebound, and I don't think he's as good a passer as Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons brings so much to the table. That's a good point by Max Kellerman. So that's 5 legit names.
Might even include Ben Simmons on the list because he can't shoot and he was exposed.
Okay, he can't shoot yet.
But I'm saying.
But if I need a shot, if I need a point guard that can shoot the ball, I'm going to go with Damian Lillard.
Damian Lillard's not excellent. I'm saying my expectations from the reason we all had our eye on him, like, we know he can play. We know he's excellent. But we all believed when it mattered most, this dude was going to deliver. He just wears it. You smell it on him. And when he had to deliver, I'm just saying, telling it like it is. When he had to deliver, yes, they were doubling him and all that stuff.
Right.
But Drew Holiday's defense made the difference.
And we all
Anthony
believe Jason
Davis'
Tatum
offense.
leading this.
I actually believe that Drew Holiday's offense was even more of a difference maker than his defense because he was baking those dudes. Like, Drew Holiday was dunking on people with the left hand. He was just baking them guys.
This list and the whole list is bogus and ludicrous. All right, guys.
I disagree. I actually like the list and I like the premise. And I think that it's good to call out overhyping because what it does is it restores more realistic expectations and it stops guys from getting a big head. Jason Tatum is someone to watch in that regard. But anyway, Peace.